The alarm screams. Heat licks up a steel staircase, smoke curls like a fist closing. I watch my own body break in a shower of sparks as a man in a faded uniform crashes through the door and gathers me from the floor. His eyes are red blood bright at the rims. He says my name once like a prayer swallowed by sirens. For years after I drift, I watch him sit on cold steps with a bottle and my name under his breath. I watch him take care of my parents and refuse every suggestion to move on. I watch him run back into another fire for a child he does not know. White hair comes early. The heat takes the last of him. My parents bury him beside me. Then coffee steam touches my face. The diner in Lorraine smells like old coffee and citrus cleaner. Plates clatter in the kitchen. A jukebox skips past a trumpet line. Across the booth, Jack Mercer straightens as if the vinyl seat has teeth. He is broader than memory, a uniform folded in clean squares, the scent of pine soap clinging to him. "If you don't want to," he says. His voice is careful, a box set gently on a shelf. "We do not have to keep this." I hear the alarm again. I hear him say my name in rooms full of smoke. Tears spill before I can catch them. I slide across the booth and wrap my arms around him, cheek pressed to the rough fabric over his chest. "I want this," I say into his shirt. "I want you." His body goes still. Then I feel a small shiver run through him like a deer realizing the water is safe. When I look up, his ears are red. He fumbles for the bill, leaves too much money under the sugar jar, and walks me outside. My mother Karen is waiting on the sidewalk. She has a scarf tied tight at the nape of her neck, frayed from too many winters. My father Dennis stands a half step behind, hands shoved in his coat, eyes already soft. My mother has her speech ready. I shake my head and take her hands. "Mom," I say, and my voice comes out full and steady. "I am marrying him." She swallows whatever she was about to say. Her eyes shine. My father pulls a crumpled red envelope from his pocket. There are papers inside, an old birth certificate, some insurance cards, a check. Practical love folded twice. I reach into my bag and take out a stack of gas cards and meal vouchers. Edges worn, a touch of red ink on one corner. He slipped them under my door last night, quiet as rain. "He gave me everything," I say. My mother sighs, but her hands are busy already smoothing my hair, tucking the cards back into my bag, fastening me to a future with the simple rhythm of a mother's fussing. The sky is the color of steel. Wind off the lake cuts through our coats. When Jack comes back from the curb with the duffel, my parents make space. We stand for a moment on the sidewalk, four bodies trying to be one. I hook my fingers in his sleeve and pull him closer. He looks both helpless and content inside my family's small storm. The Greyhound out of Cleveland is crowded and smells like vinyl fries and old gum. A toddler kicks the back of our seat. Outside, the window trees thin, then the land goes flat and wide. We stop at stations where vending machines buzz and coffee is always burnt. I fall asleep on his shoulder and wake with the imprint of his sleeve seam on my cheek. Somewhere near New Mexico it rains. The desert gives off that strange green scent, creosote rising from warm stone. Jack keeps his hand around my wrist when the bus swerves. He carries both our bags each time we change buses and pretends not to notice when I try to grab one. Fort Bliss is concrete and sky. The sun makes everything look bleached, edges sharpened by light. A young soldier waits at the gate, scarf pulled up over his mouth. He grins when he sees Jack. "Sergeant Mercer, that your wife, sir?" "Ma'am," the kid says to me, trying to look serious and failing. "Welcome to the best dust in Texas." "I am Nora," I say, his wife. It is a simple line, but it shakes something loose in me. The word wife hits the fence and bounces back true in the dry air. Jack's ears go red again. He clears his throat, checks his watch, does not smile much, but the look in his eyes is a small sunrise. Our quarters are a rectangle of rooms that echo when you speak. Tile, scuffed paint, chipped a window that sticks on the left side. He sets the duffels down and opens every cabinet so I can see. It is half apology, half tour. The pantry holds a box of pasta and a dented can of beans. The fridge hums and breathes cool air and little else. "Let me get to the office," he says. "We need to file the rest. I have most of it ready already." He pats a folder on the table. The cover is red. I know the heft of it, the way paper feels when it is about to change a life. He takes off his coat and starts to clean. He moves through the space the way a man learns to move through barracks, 3 steps ahead of whatever is needed. Hangers in one pile, sheets in another, a dish towel over his shoulder. He pulls a thin blanket from the closet and lays it neatly on the bed in the small room. I look at the 2 beds in the main room, pushed to opposite walls like neighbors not speaking. When he steps out for a moment to bring in a box from the car, I drag one bed across the floor. The legs squeal on tile. I line it up with the other and smooth the coverlet with my palms until the seam between them disappears. In the thin mirror by the door, my face looks new to me. There is a light behind my eyes I do not want to lose again. I find a box of sesame candy at the bottom of my bag, something my mother shoved in as I was leaving. The wrappers crackle like leaves. I take 2 pieces and slip them in my pocket. The woman next door answers on the second knock. She has a red scarf and flour on her hands. The kitchen behind her smells like cumin and lime. I am Nora, I say. We just moved in. We have no oil, no salt, nothing. I can trade you something sweet and a promise I will return everything. She laughs full and bright and waves away the trade. I am Rita. Use my pantry today. Pay me back by letting me hold a baby someday. That is how it works here. She presses bottles and jars into my arms. When it becomes too much, she yells for a little boy to help. He appears with a grin and a cowlick that refuses to be tamed. He stares at the candy box like it is a rare animal. What is your name, I ask? Milo. You are brave, Milo. He looks pleased and a little confused by the compliment. Back in our kitchen, I coax the burner to catch. The flame flutters blue and then steadies. I watch pasta water breathe. Heat beads at my neck. I chop the last sad cabbage into ribbons and toss it with oil, salt, and a handful of sesame seeds. The pan complains, but accepts the work. The door opens and Jack steps in the light behind him, going hard white for a second before it shuts. He sees me by the stove and reaches for the spatula in a panic. You should have waited for me, he says. Are you hungry? I am sorry, I am late. I am fine, I say, and the laugh slips out. You sound like Milo. He blinks. Who is Milo? Our neighbor. He helped me steal your spices. He glances at the table, at the 2 bowls, at the cabbage, shining in a little coat of oil. His mouth twitches. I can tell he wants to be proud, and is also worried the food is terrible. Smells good, he says, too serious. We eat at the small table with our knees touching. There is a moment where I say the wrong thing. No wonder my mother wanted me to marry you. His face shuts down the way a door does when the wind hits. I set my chopsticks down and take his hand. I'm not here because of her, I say. I'm here because I'm here. His shoulders lower a half inch. He nods. He is still red at the ears. After he washes the bowls and dries his hands on the towel, he goes to the small room and lifts the blanket. He is old-fashioned. He is himself. He will not share a bed without the paper that says we can. On the table, the red folder waits. I slide it open. The forms inside have signatures where signatures belong. Captain Ruiz. A line for me to fill with my name. Outside, a siren starts up near the motor pool, sharp as a nail. Jack is at the door before the second wail. He grabs his cap and turns back. Lock the door, he says. I will be back. The room smells like cabbage and soap and the smallest burn of sesame oil. I put my palm on the red cover. Heat rises in my face. I close the folder and slide the bolt home. The door clicks shut behind him, but the silence hangs heavier. I sit on the edge of the bed, the red folder open before me. The signatures burn through the paper, a mark of legitimacy of something I never thought I would hold onto so tightly. I press my thumb over Captain Ruiz's name. The ink is dry, but it still feels fresh somehow. I slide the folder closed and tuck it under my arm. My fingers tremble, though I try to steady them. The room is too quiet. I stand up and walk around trying to shake off the stillness. The air feels dry and prickly like the sand outside, and the faint smell of Jack's soap is clinging to the air. It's strange being in this place in this new life where nothing belongs to me yet, but everything is starting to. The desert wind whispers through the cracks in the window. I open it a little wider and breathe deeply, tasting the dust that hangs in the air. It's not the clean, fresh air of the city by the lake. It's something else, earthy, wide, lonely. I can't explain it, but I feel both a deep connection and a disconnection all at once. I glance over at the clock. Jack will be back soon. He always comes back, always. It's strange how a man can become such a constant, a person you trust with everything, and yet at the same time feel like a stranger. I turn back to the small room, the one with the 2 beds. They sit like relics, untouched cold. I sit back down and tug at the corner of the blanket Jack left neatly folded, his quiet act of tidiness. It's odd how even in the smallest things I can see the man he is. It's the way he always makes sure everything is in order before he leaves, as if he needs the world to be in place before he faces whatever it is he has to do. And maybe that's what makes me so afraid. I don't think I'll ever be enough to fill in the spaces he leaves behind. The minutes tick by. My stomach knots not from hunger, but from something else, anxiety, impatience, maybe a little fear. I don't know. I stand up again, pacing back and forth, a little too fast, a little too far, the floor creaking beneath me. I press my hand to the back of my neck, feeling the strain in my muscles. I'm not used to this. I'm not used to waiting for someone who might not come back. A knock at the door pulls me from my thoughts. I open it, and there he is. Jack standing with a heavy duffel bag over his shoulder, the familiar gray of his uniform pressed perfectly against his broad shoulders. His face, his shadowed eyes slightly narrowed, but his lips curl into a smile when he sees me. "Everything okay?" he asks, his voice still rough from the day's work. "Yeah, I was just thinking," I say, stepping aside to let him in. He doesn't say anything more, just sets the bag down on the floor and takes off his jacket. He looks tired, but not in a way that makes him seem defeated. It's the kind of tired that comes from long hours, from hard work, from something he's done because it's necessary. He looks like a man who has learned how to carry the weight of the world, even if it doesn't always make sense to him. "Dinner's ready," I say, gesturing to the small table where I've set the bowl of pasta. He nods, walking over and sitting down without complaint. There's something about him that makes everything seem simple. He doesn't need explanations or apologies. He just exists in the moment, like the steady rhythm of the wind, always there, but never too loud. "Looks good," he says, eyeing the noodles. "I'm sorry I didn't get the stuff from the store. I'll go tomorrow." "It's fine," I reply, sitting across from him. We make do. He eats quietly, and for a while the only sound between us is the clink of silverware. I watch him as he eats, taking in the way he moves, careful, deliberate, as if every action is a small piece of a much larger picture. I wonder if he feels the same tension I do. If he's carrying the same weight I feel pressing down on me. When we finish eating, he stands and grabs the dishes. I rise to help, but he shakes his head. "No, I've got it," he says, a small smile tugging at his lips. "You stay. Rest." I hesitate, then nod, sinking back into my seat. I watch him wash the dishes in silence, the water running and the suds disappearing down the drain like the day washing away bit by bit. There's a strange, almost aching comfort in the way he moves through this space, through our space. It's as if he belongs here more than I do, as if this life, this small corner of the world, is his to command. But I know deep down that it's not true. I'm just as much a part of it as he is. I have to be. Because if I don't belong here, where do I belong? When he finishes, he grabs a clean towel and dries his hands, then comes over to the bed. "Ready to get some rest?" he asks, a gentle question hanging between us. I nod, standing up. He pulls the blanket back and lies down, first eyes closing for a moment. He's worn out, and I can see it now. There's a heaviness to him that wasn't there before. I pull the blanket over us both and lie down next to him, close but not quite touching. His body is warm beside mine, but there's a space between us that still feels unfilled. The weight of it presses down, and for a moment I wonder if he feels the same, if he's just as afraid of this distance as I am. I don't say anything. Neither of us does. The silence settles thick and comfortable, but it's not enough. I can feel it in my chest, a yearning, a need to bridge this gap between us. "Jack," I whisper, my voice breaking the quiet. He turns his head slightly, his eyes soft in the dim light. "Yeah, I don't want to wait anymore." He blinks, and for a second I think he might say something else, but instead he simply nods. "I know. Me neither." He reaches over and takes my hand in his grip firm but tender. We lie like that for a while, the only sound the soft rhythm of our breathing, the wind rattling the windows like a reminder of everything outside this room, this small, perfect moment where nothing else matters but the two of us. And for the first time since we arrived, I feel like I might finally be home. The morning light spills across the floor, warm and golden, slicing through the thin curtains like fingers pushing apart a veil. I wake up slowly, the air still cool against my skin. Jack is beside me, his chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm, his hand resting on the edge of the bed, close enough for me to reach, but not quite touching me. His presence is familiar now, comforting like the sun creeping through the window, promising warmth but not asking for anything in return. I let my hand brush against his, just a touch, and the warmth spreads through me. For a moment I think I might fall back into the quiet comfort of sleep, but then I remember. I can't. The day is waiting for me, and it's not a gentle kind of waiting. I slide out of bed carefully, trying not to wake him, but as soon as my feet hit the floor, he stirs. His hand reaches out, fingers brushing the sheet where I had been lying, and then he opens his eyes. "Where are you going?" His voice is thick with sleep, but it still carries a weight to it, like he's always aware, always watching. "I have to get ready." I answer, my voice quiet, but there's an edge of uncertainty in it. "It's today, isn't it?" He sits up, rubbing the back of his neck, his gaze drifting over me for a moment before he nods. "Yeah, the test." I nod, but the words catch in my throat. I'd been dreading it for weeks, the thought of taking a test that could change everything. The kind of test that feels like it might decide whether I really belong here or not. whether I'm worthy of this life we're trying to build together, or if I'm just a stranger in someone else's world. Jack gets out of bed and stands next to me. For a moment he says nothing, just stands there, the distance between us heavier than it's been before. But then he takes a step closer and his hand rests on my shoulder, warm and reassuring. "You'll do great," he says, and I feel the sincerity in his voice, the belief he has in me, even when I'm not sure I have it in myself. "I'm proud of you, Nora." I turn to look at him, and for a second I see the man who carried me out of the fire, the man who never once asked for anything in return. He's not perfect, and neither am I. But in this moment in this life we've started to build together, there's a quiet peace. I nod, my throat tight. "Thanks, Jack." He smiles a small, tired smile and then steps back. "I'll make some breakfast while you get ready. Take your time." I watch him walk to the kitchen, his broad shoulders filling the doorway, his movements as steady and sure as always. He's the rock, the foundation of everything we've built. And for a moment I wonder if I'm strong enough to stand beside him. I stand in front of the small mirror in the bathroom staring at my reflection. The face looking back at me is familiar, but there's something different about it now, something stronger. I don't know when it happened, but I've changed. The girl who was afraid to love, who ran away from everything that mattered, is gone. In her place is a woman who is ready to face whatever comes next, even if she doesn't have all the answers. I take a deep breath and smooth my hair back, adjusting the collar of my shirt. It's simple, clean, nothing special, but today it feels like armor. When I walk back into the kitchen, Jack is standing at the stove, flipping pancakes with the same careful precision he uses for everything else. The smell of coffee and syrup fills the air, and for a moment I'm reminded of mornings back home when things were simpler, when I didn't have to worry about tests or futures, just the quiet hum of life passing by. He looks up when I enter and his eyes soften. "You're ready." I nod, but the nerves are still there, lurking just below the surface. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if anyone ever really is, but I can't back out now. "Yeah," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. "Let's go." We eat breakfast in silence, the clink of silverware the only sound between us. Jack keeps his gaze on me, but I can't read what he's thinking. I wish I could, but sometimes with him it's like I'm on the outside looking in. When we finish, we grab our coats and head out the door. The cold air bites at my skin, but it's a welcome shock, something to jolt me awake, to remind me that I'm alive, that I'm here, and that there's more to this life than just fear. Jack drives me to the test center, the engine humming steadily under our feet. The city of El Paso stretches out in front of us, the dusty desert landscape dotted with faded buildings and cracked sidewalks. It's a place that's seen better days, but it's a place that feels like it belongs to me now. A place where I can carve out a future if I'm brave enough. When we arrive, Jack parks the truck and turns to me. "You've got this," he says again, his voice low but full of conviction. I nod, but my heart is racing. I get out of the truck and stand there for a moment, taking a deep breath. I look back at Jack, and for a split second I think I might turn around and run. But then I see him standing there watching me, waiting for me to take that first step. So I do. I walk toward the doors of the test center, the heavy doors that stand between me and whatever comes next, and I don't look back. Inside, the air smells like paper and anticipation. The tables are set up in neat rows, empty chairs, waiting to be filled with people like me, people who are hoping for a chance, hoping for a future. I take my seat and set my bag on the floor, feeling the weight of the moment settle over me. And then the test begins. The hum of the test center is steady, a dull background of people shifting in their seats, pages turning pens, scratching over paper. It feels like a kind of quiet chaos, every second pregnant with the weight of possibility. I sit at my desk, fingers wrapped tightly around the pen, trying to steady my breath. I glance at the clock on the wall. The minutes are stretching, dragging, but I keep my eyes on the paper in front of me. It's not hard, not really. The questions are familiar, like fragments of old conversations, words I know and understand. But as I work through them, something pulls at the back of my mind, a quiet tug, a shadow moving in the corner of my thoughts. The man sitting at the desk across from me shifts in his seat, tapping his foot anxiously. I can hear his pen scratching against paper too quickly, as if he's trying to outrun time. The air in the room thickens, heavy with the weight of everyone's hopes, their fears. I wish I could tune it all out, but it's impossible. The pressure is thick. My chest feels tight with it. I try to focus, to push everything else away. But the thought of Jack waiting outside is like a pull, something magnetic that keeps tugging at my attention. I can feel his presence even here, even though he's miles away from this sterile room surrounded by strangers. I wonder what he's doing right now, if he's standing in the same sunlight I stood in this morning, or if he's somewhere else, somewhere familiar to him. I glance down at my paper again, trying to settle my mind. The questions are easy enough, but the pressure mounts, filling the space around me until it's suffocating. My fingers curl around the pen tighter, the ink starting to bleed onto the paper in uneven lines. My thoughts scatter like the wind, unpredictable and wild. Then I hear a voice, sharp and quiet. It's the proctor, moving from desk to desk, speaking in low tones. 5 minutes left, she announces, her voice cutting through the haze of nerves. Wrap up your work, please. 5 minutes. My stomach tightens. I feel like I'm about to drown in the seconds ticking away, each one a little closer to something I can't control, something I don't fully understand. But somehow I manage to focus, pulling the final answers from somewhere deep inside me. I finish the last question with a shaky exhale and set my pen down, finally allowing myself to breathe again. I stand up and walk toward the front of the room to submit my paper, the weight of my footsteps filling the silence. The air outside the testing room feels different, lighter, freer. I walk back into the waiting area and glance around, half expecting to see Jack's face in the crowd. But he's not there. My stomach flips, but I try to keep my face neutral, my hands steady. I can't allow myself to let the panic in, not yet. Not until I'm sure. The minutes drag by, each one heavier than the last. I keep my eyes trained on the door, waiting for Jack to walk in, but the minutes stretch out and he still isn't there. I feel a pang of unease, the kind that comes with uncertainty, the kind that leaves a pit in your stomach, an unanswered question lingering in the air. Finally, the doors open, and there he is. Jack walks in, his eyes immediately finding mine in the crowd. He smiles, and the weight of the day of the past few hours lifts a little. There's something in his gaze that reassures me. It's as if for a moment nothing else matters. You good? He asks, his voice low, his hand reaching out to me. I nod, a smile tugging at my lips despite everything. Yeah, I think so, I answer, my voice a little more steady than I feel. Jack pulls me into a quick hug, his arms wrapping around me like a shield, his warmth seeping into my bones. I knew you would be. You're stronger than you think. I close my eyes, allowing myself a moment to lean into him, to let the world fade away just for a second. His arms are solid around me, and it feels like everything outside this moment doesn't matter. The proctor steps back into the room, signaling that we can leave. Jack takes my hand, his grip tight and reassuring, as we step into the lobby. The sun is still bright outside, casting long shadows over the sidewalk, but the air feels lighter now, a little less oppressive. I need to grab a drink, Jack says, his voice still low but warm. You want anything? I shake my head. No, I'm good, thanks. We walk in silence for a while, just the sound of our footsteps echoing in the air. The desert stretches out in front of us, vast and empty, and I feel like I'm standing on the edge of something, though I don't know what it is. There's a kind of peace in the quiet, a stillness that's almost unsettling after everything we've been through. I turn to Jack, the question I've been avoiding for days finally slipping out. Do you think we'll make it here, I ask. The words sound too small for the weight they carry, but they escape anyway, hanging in the air between us. Jack doesn't answer immediately. He just keeps walking, his gaze fixed ahead. The sun glints off his uniform, and for a second I'm reminded of how much he's given for this for us. Finally, he speaks, his voice steady and sure. I know we will, he says. We'll make it because we're here together, and we're going to keep going no matter what. His words settle over me, heavy and reassuring. I don't know if they're true. I don't know if I can make that promise to myself, but I want to believe them. I want to believe in this in us. We walk side by side, the weight of the world on our shoulders, but somehow it feels just a little bit lighter. The days after the test blur together, a mix of quiet moments and restless thoughts. The desert sun still beats down every afternoon, a constant reminder of the harshness of this place. But now it doesn't feel as suffocating. There's a weight that's been lifted, though I can't exactly name it. Maybe it's the fact that I faced something I thought I couldn't, maybe it's the thought of what's next. But whatever it is, it's there pressing down on me in the best way. I wake up early most mornings, the quiet of the house, a comfort after the chaos of the test. Jack has already left for morning drills, his boots echoing in the hall as he goes. I make coffee and sit by the window, watching the first light touch the mountains in the distance, the sky softening to a pale blue. There's a sense of peace in it, in the way everything is still just for a moment. When Jack comes home, he's quiet, always a little more worn after the long hours of training, but his eyes still find mine steady and sure. He doesn't need to say anything. I know him by now, the way he moves, the way he speaks without words. We slip into the same rhythm as before, but now there's an understanding between us that wasn't there before. Something unspoken but solid. Something that holds us in place no matter what else is happening in the world. One evening, as the sun dips low over the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of orange and purple, we sit outside on the porch. Jack's legs stretched out in front of him, elbows resting on the railing. The air is cool, a rare breeze sweeping in from the desert. The wind carries the smell of creosote, the scent of rain that never comes. It's a smell that's familiar to me now, the smell of this place, the smell of something that feels like home. Do you ever think about going back? Jack asks, suddenly breaking the comfortable silence. I glance over at him, surprised by the question. For a moment, I don't know how to answer. The thought of home of Lorraine feels like a distant memory now, a place I've left behind. But it's not gone, not really. There are pieces of it that still cling to me, pieces that I don't know if I'll ever be able to shake. I think about it sometimes. I say, my voice quiet, unsure, but not in the way I used to. It's not the same anymore. He nods, his fingers tapping lightly on the wood of the railing. I get that, he says softly. Sometimes the place you come from doesn't fit anymore. You change, and so does everything around you. I watch the sunset, the last of the light flickering out behind the mountains. Yeah, I say, my voice thick with something I can't name. I guess you just have to find where you belong. Jack turns to me, then his gaze steady and warm. You belong here, he says, his voice simple, certain. This is home now. I meet his gaze, and for a moment I don't say anything. There's a weight to his words, something deeper than just the surface meaning. It's not just about the house or the place we live. It's about the life we're building together, the trust we've learned to have in each other. It's about the future, whatever it looks like. Yeah, I finally say, a small smile tugging at my lips. I think you're right. He smiles back, and the world feels a little lighter for it. The weight of the day, of everything we've been through, seems to fall away just for a moment. There's nothing left to say, nothing left to worry about. We're here in this moment, and that's enough. The sun sets completely and the air cools further. Jack stands up, stretching his arms above his head before turning back toward the door. Let's go inside, he says, his voice easy. Dinner's waiting. I stand and follow him inside, the sound of our footsteps echoing softly in the quiet of the house. We've learned to fill the silence between us with simple things, small gestures, a touch, a shared glance. It's all we need. Later, as we sit at the table eating, the light from the kitchen overhead casting soft shadows across the walls, I realize that the world has shifted. Not in a dramatic way, but in a way that's undeniable. We're no longer just surviving here. We're building something that feels like it might last. I glance over at Jack, watching him as he cuts his food, his focus on the plate in front of him. There's a quiet strength in him that I can't quite describe. He's been through so much more than I can imagine, but he's still here, still holding on, still building. And I'm right beside him. Jack, I ask, my voice steady, but there's a question lingering in the air. He looks up, meeting my gaze, his expression softening. Yeah. Do you ever think about the future? I ask, the words slipping out before I can stop them. He pauses for a moment, the fork in his hand hanging in midair. I think about it, he says, his voice quiet. But I think about it differently now. Different how? He sets his fork down and leans back in his chair, his eyes never leaving mine. I think about it like this: whatever happens, I'll be here. With you. I don't need to know every step, every detail. As long as I have you, I can handle whatever comes. I stare at him, my heart full. For a moment, I don't know what to say. There's nothing left to say. His words are all I need, all I've ever needed. I nod, my throat tight with emotion. I can do that too. I say, my voice barely above a whisper. I'll be here, with you. The rest of the evening passes in a quiet comfort, the kind that comes from knowing that you found something solid, something that can stand the test of time. The weight of the world doesn't feel so heavy anymore, not when you have someone to share it with. And as the night falls around us, I realize that I don't need to worry anymore. We've made it this far, together, and that's enough. They walked, the light changed, the day went on, the line of them stayed together. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.